All right, well, now the Prime Minister has used words to obscure the answer. He says there was not interference in a significant way that would have changed the outcome. Was there any interference of any kind?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
As our intelligence services have highlighted many times in many different forums for Canadians, interference in Canadians' affairs by foreign powers is an ongoing thing, whether it's cyber interference, whether it's interference with communities here in Canada, whether it's attempts to influence the media. These are things that go on an ongoing basis, and things that our intelligence agencies and police agencies work very, very hard to counter. But Canadians can be reassured that the integrity of our elections was not compromised.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He still won't answer the question. The question was specifically about whether intelligence, law enforcement, or public servants briefed him or in any way informed him of any interference in any of our elections.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, back in 2019, we established a professional, a nonpartisan, independent group of top civil servants and intelligence officials to ensure that the integrity of our elections would not be compromised. They watched and reported in the 2019 election. They watched and reported for the 2021 election, and in both cases confirmed that the integrity of our elections was not compromised.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The question was not whether the election was compromised. The question was whether officials in intelligence, law enforcement, or the public service at any time informed the Prime Minister of allegations of any interference in our elections. Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite brought in the element of allegations of interference. I can confirm, based on the news reports that a number of people have been remarking on for the past number of weeks, that I have never gotten any information from any of our security agencies or police officers or intelligence officials or public servants on any information on anyone receiving, as a federal candidate, receiving money from China, as the allegations highlighted.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The question wasn't whether or not he heard allegations of money going to a candidate from China. Obviously, money doesn't travel on a big ship from the other side of the Pacific and then go to the shore and then be delivered to a candidate. That is obviously a denial of an absurdity. The question is whether or not the Prime Minister ever got information from the public service, the police, or intelligence bodies on any interference of any kind by Beijing in our elections.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I got a report back from our panel that was established, the experts established in the national security agencies, to report back on whether or not our elections were subject to foreign interference, and they confirmed that the elections were held in full integrity. The outcome was not impacted. That Canadians can have full confidence in the integrity of our elections in 2019 and 2021.
Mr. Speaker, I asked the Prime Minister some very specific questions today about whether he was informed of allegations that Beijing interfered in any of our elections, and he refused to answer. So I will give him a sixth try. The question is not whether he knows of a candidate that received money. It's not whether there's a committee somewhere that said that the election turned out as it should. The question is if at any time, prior to the recent media reports, he was informed by his officials of interference by Beijing in our elections. Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Very encouraged by my Conservative colleagues who can also be assured that Canadians know that the elections in 2019 and 2021 were free and fair. And why do we know that? Because we had two independent panels who looked at allegations of foreign interference and confirmed as much. More importantly, Mr. Speaker, we are putting in place the tools that are necessary to protect all of our democratic institutions so that Canadians can have their voices reflected and heard in this chamber. Thank you.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The RCMP wrote a letter to a parliamentary committee confirming that it is investigating foreign interference, and it said in particular that interference includes in democratic processes. Democratic processes. The Constitution defines democratic rights as voting, which of course is elections. The RCMP put that in writing. CSIS officials testified that there is foreign interference that includes in elections and ridings. Would CSIS and the RCMP have made these comments publicly without informing the Prime Minister first?
The Honourable Minister for Intergovernmental Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister has said very clearly, and my colleague, the Minister of Public Safety, has repeated, our government put in place an independent process of experts chaired by the Clerk of the Privy Council, something the previous Conservative government hadn't thought important enough to do. And Mr. Speaker, that group of experts, chaired by the Clerk of the Privy Council, including the heads of our security and intelligence agencies, were given the important responsibility of ensuring that Canadian elections were free and democratic. And the good news, Mr. Speaker, I know it won't impress the Leader of the Opposition, the good news is they confirmed that both elections were exactly that.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, that was exactly not the question. The question was not whether a committee confirmed the validity of the overall election result. The question was not whether or not the Prime Minister is aware of an individual candidate getting money from another country. The question was whether he was briefed by police, intelligence, or public servants on any interference by Beijing in any of our elections. Once again, the Prime Minister would please stand up and speak for himself, yes or no.
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
I appreciate my honourable colleague's concern, and that is why we had two independent panels look at, with great forensic detail, allegations of foreign interference. Now, this review was carried out by nonpartisan, professional public servants so that we could all be sure that our elections were free and fair, and that is precisely what they confirmed. And now our government continues to be vigilant against all forms of foreign interference by giving law enforcement and national security partners the tools that they need to do so. Thank you.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, the Prime Minister has the tools that he needs to stand up and answer the question. He would know if his officials, if the police or the intelligence bodies briefed him on any foreign interference in elections. That's the specific question that I have now asked 7 times. At first, the Prime Minister refused to give a proper answer, and now he's refusing to even take to his feet and face the question. So one last time, was he ever briefed on interference by foreign actors in our elections, yes or no?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we obviously share the concern of all members of this House about the importance of protecting Canadian democracy from any foreign interference. And we know that authoritarian regimes around the world have attacked other Western democracies for many reasons and for many years. That's why we thought, Mr. Speaker, it was important to take all the steps necessary to protect our democratic institutions. And as the Leader of the Opposition will know, we also set up the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, something that the previous Conservative government didn't do, and they have access to that confidential information.